Okay, we're going to talk about the gold and salt trade that takes place in Africa. It's in chapter 15, section 2. Okay, we're going to discuss the trade that happens in Africa between this time of Islamic growth. We're going to talk about how Islam makes its way into Africa. And what I've shown you is a map. Here's the Niger River, which is a huge development in the gold and salt trade. And there's Timbuktu, which becomes an extremely important city. But I want to draw your attention to some of these regions here that are very important. You have the Sahara Desert, and then you have the African savanna in this area where gold is produced in West Africa. And then you have where salt is found in the Sahara. And so we're going to talk about how gold and salt became items that were traded in this region of Africa. Okay, so trade had existed across the Sahara Desert for a very long time. And like I had said, gold and salt were the prominent things that were being traded in this region. Like I said, there was gold that was found in the forests of that region, south of the African savanna, and salt deposits were actually found in the Sahara Desert. So actually, with the influx of using camels, who didn't have to stop for water for a very long time, could travel long distances across the Sahara, gold and salt really became a very prominent item to trade. So the gold and salt trade developed a lot of successful kingdoms in Africa at this time. So what I want you to think about as we're doing this, as we're doing our notes and as we're talking, I want you to think about, what does this trade lead to, and what do you think spread as a result of this trade? Why don't you go ahead and write out some predictions and write out some thoughts on your paper right now. The first kingdom that comes of this trade is the kingdom of Ghana. And here's a map of where Ghana is located. As you can see, it's right in West Africa. Ghana was founded in 750 AD, and the people of Ghana were able to gain control of their territory by using weapons and warfare, so conquest, to take control of neighboring states. Once Ghana is established as a kingdom, that trade routes that I showed you become very, very important. They take control of Africa's major trade routes, and they begin trading gold from Ghana for salt in the Sahara Desert. And this trade is actually very interesting because it helps Ghana to rise to power very quickly, because they are able to tax that trade that is passing through the kingdom, gaining lots and lots of wealth for that kingdom, because as traders go through, they are able to place a tax on the trade. Ghana becomes a very powerful kingdom. However, in 1076, they are invaded by Muslims, and this is a very important development because this brings Islam to West Africa, which we will see is very influential. And many of the rulers convert to Islam. However, Ghana was never able to recover from this invasion, and they eventually fall and are taken over by the kingdom of Mali, eventually taken in. So let's make a prediction. What do you think is going to happen now that Islam is introduced into West Africa? And I want you to think about and justify your prediction. So what do you think is going to happen now that Islam has been introduced into West Africa? Go ahead and pause the video and answer this question on your paper. All right, the next empire or kingdom that emerges out of this gold and salt trade is the Empire of Mali. And Mali was a very interesting and very influential empire. It also is made successful by the gold and salt trade. But there's another thing that makes Mali very, very interesting. As you can see, Mali encompasses the area of the previous kingdom of Ghana and then a little bit more. And the Niger River runs through Mali, which is a very good, as we know. All right, the kingdom of Mali, the first ruler, Sunjata, he becomes the Mansa, or the emperor of Mali. He is able to go in and take over Ghana using military control. So his land of Mali expands into Ghana. And Sunjata is actually turns out to be a very influential and a very a very prominent ruler. He is a great ruler through military matters, financial decisions, foreign affairs, and he reestablishes the gold and salt trade, and it really encourages business and agriculture to take place. So Sanjata did do lots of good things for Mali, especially when you think about reestablishing that system of trade. But probably the most influential ruler when it comes to Islam and the prominence of Islam is Mansa Musa. Now, many of the rulers at this time were Islamic, were Muslims, but a lot of the people hadn't converted. But Mansa Musa really brings Islam to Mali and really brings it to prominence and brings it to the people of Mali. And he is kind of considered to be the most regarded Islamic ruler in Mali. Under Mansa Musa, Mali expands to about twice the size of Ghana. And Mansa Musa, he was very effective as a ruler, but he does a lot of things to advance the religion of Islam. He goes on a Hajj to Mecca, and after he goes on that Hajj, while he's on the Hajj, many people are very impressed with his wealth and his with his affluence, and they are very impressed. So he takes a lot of things. He goes to Cairo and Mecca. He showers gifts upon the rulers, and he brings back lots of new ideas for architecture, and he brings back a more sacred view of Islam. Once he comes back, he orders the building of mosques, of schools, of religious schools for teaching Islam, for universities, and he orders these to be built in prominent cities, Islamic trading cities such as Timbuktu and Gao. Timbuktu, however, is extremely important because on the map I showed you, it sits right on the Niger River, so it's a very important city sitting right on a river. And he orders many mosques and universities to attract prominent Islamic people to come and live at Timbuktu. And that's exactly what happens. It becomes a center for advancement in mathematics, literature, astronomy, scholarship, doctors, many people who have risen to prominence in the Islamic world. So prominent Muslims are now attracted to Timbuktu because Mansa Musa has ordered many mosques be built. So Mansa Musa was a very influential ruler in advancing Islam in the Kingdom of Mali. I want you to think for just a minute. This is a picture of a mosque at Timbuktu, and I want you to think about the cultural diffusion that you see in this picture. Think about the cultural diffusion. We know about mosques, and I've shown you some pictures of mosques we might see in the Middle East. I want you to think about how cultural diffusion impacted this picture. I want you to stop and write this on your paper. Go ahead and pause the video. The final kingdom of the African kingdoms is the Songhai Empire. And as you can see, the Songhai Empire is very, very large. It encompasses most of the Mali kingdom as well as Ghana. And it was the largest kingdom, African kingdom during this time. The Sunni Ali, he was the Sultan of Shanghai. He captures Timbuktu and establishes the Songhai Kingdom. Shanghai grows very, very rich from the gold and salt trade, just like the other kingdoms were able to do. And they expand trade into Europe and Asia. And he's able to do that, and he creates a system of taxation and communication, which really brings that dynasty or that kingdom into prominence, as did Ghana with the taxation. However, this kingdom only flourished for about 130 years. In 1591, Morocco comes in and defeats Shanghai because they had developments like gunpowder and muskets, and they are able to overpower the people of Shanghai. So wrapping it all up, I want you to think a little bit about what I've told you. We've talked about the introduction of Islam into West Africa and how it's had an influence. I want you to think about what ideas have spread as a result of the gold and salt trade. I want you to think about how did this trade network impact the growth of Islam. And I want you to explain the impact of Timbuktu on Islamic growth and achievement. So I really want you to think about those. If you'll go ahead and pause the video and actually write the answers to those questions on your paper. And please be sure to be thorough. Don't write about 3 to 5 sentences on each so that you have a full answer and